Inter Milan are interested in signing Tottenham captain Christian Romero. Stefan Ortega is in advanced negotiations with Olympiacos. Federico Chiesa is hoping to be given a fresh start at Liverpool. And Arsenal are willing to offer Vinicius Jr. the biggest contract in the club's history. Here are your daily Premier League news headlines. Hi everybody, hope you're well. Welcome back to the channel and to another edition of the Daily Premier League News Headlines, where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. My name is Lee The Dorset Spur, and if you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. So let's get into it. Inter Milan are interested in signing Tottenham captain Christian Romero. It's understood that any deal for the Argentina defender would be a financially complex one for the Italian champions. Speaking to Sky in Italy, Inter sporting director Piero Acilio said of Romero, "It's definitely a deal we are trying to sign with the player and the club Tottenham. These things take some time, but there's definitely interest. Let's see." Stefan Ortega is in advanced negotiations with Olympiacos. The 33-year-old was released by Nottingham Forest in June after a short-term contract. Ortega initially hesitated at the Greek club's offer and was at one point even considering a rejection. They are also owned by Forest owner Evangelos Marianakis. Both sides are now returned to the negotiating table and the basic conditions have been agreed upon. Currently, the focus is on the final details of an agreement. Ortega joined Forest in January after almost 4 years at Manchester City. Liverpool forward Federico Chiesa is hoping to be given a fresh start under new Reds coach Andoni Iraola, having started just one Premier League game in 2 seasons under his predecessor Arne Slot. The Italy international 28 came off the bench to score his side's third goal in Saturday's 4-2 pre-season win against Sunderland in Iraola's first match in charge of the club. "The only conversations I've had about pressing and tactics," said Chiesa after the game in Nashville. "So I don't know. It is difficult to say. It's always a fresh start at the beginning of the year. Maybe there have been too many fresh starts, but I don't care. I am trying to do my best for this new manager. Last season under Arne Slot, I was trying to do my best. Right now, at the moment, I'm happy here at Liverpool. I love the club. I love the fans. I love everything. I'm doing the best I can to have a chance here, and then we will see. At the minute, the only thing I'm thinking about is Liverpool." Arsenal would be willing to offer Vinicius Jr. the biggest contract in the club's history in order to complete a mega transfer deal for the Brazilian, according to the Mirror and the Daily Telegraph. At this point, there have been no club-to-club contact, but the interest is real. Vinicius Jr. is one of a number of forward targets Arsenal are exploring, with Julian Alvarez, Yan Diamonde and Bradley Barcola also players of interest. The Brazilian international 26 has entered the final year of his contract, and if an agreement cannot be found on a new deal, Real could be open to selling rather than losing for free next summer. Juventus are interested in signing John Stones as a free agent. Sky Sports News has already reported Arsenal and Chelsea's interest in the defender. An increasing number of options are emerging from the former Manchester City centre-back, who impressed with England at this summer's World Cup. Juventus are interested in considering Manchester United Joshua Zirkzee as a potential forward option, according to Sky in Italy. Randall Kolo Muani, who spent last season on loan at Spurs, is currently Juve's priority for the attack, but there is still a gap in valuation with PSG. If Juve fail to reach an agreement with PSG, Zirkzee is among the alternative options. There is also a possibility of Juve trying to sign Zirkzee and Kolo Muani this summer. Zirkzee is among a number of the first team players at Manchester United who are expected to move on this summer. Okay, so just some thoughts on these. Let's start off talking about Christian Romero. This story just won't go away for sure. It's been rumbling on for quite a while now. Obviously, Romero didn't have the greatest of seasons last season. Injuries, suspensions, and so on. I've said previously in different contexts that I do feel that Romero gets picked out because of his reputation. And sometimes you see other things going on. You think, well, if they did the Christian Romero test on that, they would be off as well. But that doesn't get spoken about. He's kind of made his bed, I guess, and has to lie in it. Going into the World Cup, he didn't do himself any favours with the issues around the Falklands flag and so on. So that's not really helped his case either. So a move away from White Hart Lane over to Italy or Spain does seem the most likely one. But it does feel like Inter Milan are really interested. Otherwise, their sporting director wouldn't have come out and spoken like this, one would think. So Italy does look like a destination, but I can't seem to shake the idea of going to Spain with Atletico because of the Argentina connection there. But that seems to have gone all quiet. So we'll see how that one pans out. But yeah, for me personally, I do think that Romero is a very good footballer. I don't think he's a particularly good captain. And I think he's built this situation on himself. And sometimes you have to move on from that. I think we've got some decent cover in there now. And if there was ever a time that we could let him go and reap the financial benefit of it, then I think this would be it. But I do think selling outside of England means the valuation goes down an awful lot. Players coming into England are going for mega money. Players going out of England are going for a lot lower. So that's the issue. But, you know, if you can get £50 million for the player, then that seems like a decent deal, especially when they're going out of the UK. So, and I guess I can't leave this one about Vinicius Junior to Arsenal. Would be a very, very big statement signing, I think, for them. A player of that nature, a player of that standing, and so on, I think would be massive. And I think it would cement their plans to try to cement their point of being champions and going for everything. I think they need that kind of thing now. I think they've bought well over the years and built a team that was good enough to win the Premier League, albeit a lot of teams dropped off. Your Chelsea's, your Liverpool's, your Manchester City's obviously dropped off and didn't have a brilliant season last season. So winning the Premier League this season coming would be a real statement for them. Especially if with the other teams kind of spending money, especially you look at Chelsea, for instance, spending a significant amount of money. And, you know, now would be a great time from with Manchester City changing manager and the uncertainty there and so on. So I think now they have to take advantage of that scenario. And this would be one of those deals. But for me, I'm still not sure that this is just a bargaining chip from Vinicius Junior's people to get a better deal at Real Madrid. It just seems he's more, Brazilian players in Spain seem to flourish a lot better than they do in England. But it's just an opinion. It's all just opinions, isn't it? And it looks like Juventus are obviously interested in John Stones, and that would be another interesting one. He did have a good World Cup, John Stones. I think he's a really solid player, and I'm surprised really that he could be looking at going abroad. Arsenal and Chelsea would actually be more likely options. Arsenal and Manchester City do share players and so on, and so there would be a link to go there. Chelsea as well. They've obviously spent a lot of time buying players from Manchester City and vice versa. So that would seem more likely to me. But Juventus obviously looking to strengthen their squads. So it could happen. And I do like the idea of English players or British players going and playing in foreign countries. I do think it brings something back to them and gives them a view of different sorts of football, and I'd love to see English players doing well in other leagues and stuff. especially if they're coming to the later stages of their career, because then they can't hurt you so much. But yeah, anyway, that's it from me. So thanks for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, please do like, comment and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. My name's Lee The Dorset Spur. If you'd like to pop over and say hi on my channel, I'd love to have you. No problem if not. I'll see you on the next one. And as always, up the Spurs.